But right now, we got a call coming in. Joe Ballance, head coach of the William-Paterson University Pioneers, if I'm not mistaken, is on the phone.
Hey, guys. How are you?
Coach, how you doing? How's things going today?
Going pretty good. How about yourself?
Doing pretty good here in the studio on a nice day today.
Yeah, very nice outside today.
First of all, we'll get into the William-Paterson University weekend that was you had a split this weekend, a tough loss against Marist and a more convincing win there against Wagner. Overall, tell us your thoughts about how your team played this weekend, how they handled the adversity coming out of that loss on Friday.
I think we bounced back well against Wagner. I thought, however, we didn't do a good job against Marist. We should have won that game just like the first game. But with a young group, it's going to take time for these guys to develop maturity and consistency. Mm. And once we establish that, I think we'll see more consistent wins against tougher opponents.
Now, first half of the season, the way you've scheduled things out with the team, trying to replicate what could be going on for a run in Nationals, which is in St. Louis this year. You had that 3 games in 3 days stretch with Rowan, and you went up to Albany and then down to Maryland. Overall, first half performance now, big picture, how does it look right now for William-Paterson University ice hockey?
I think we're in good position right now for a good second half run to achieve our goals, which are to repeat as Super East champions and to get to the national tournament again. I think that weekend you mentioned was a big test for our team. And looking as we schedule that, you would think the home game would be the one we would take as a win. However, it was the opposite way around there.
Coach, you got a lot of youth on this team, like you mentioned. What do you look for, or who do you look to lead you guys to get back to that that national tournament?
Aside from our captains, Jeff Zammer, Kyle Garlasco, Matt Hunter, Matt Braun, he's got to be consistent as well. He does a good job for us in the net and can steal pretty much any game we need him to, as he's done this year so far. We also look forward to the freshmen to contribute as well. I think Eric Simone could be a big part of that going forward down the stretch. He has a lot of speed, and I think he is growing and maturing and adjusting to the level. I also think our defensive core, which is predominantly young, and Nick Rosenbach and Joe Ginta are starting to provide more leadership back on the defensive end than anticipated. They're both rookies this year. But I think as we go forward, I think you're going to see a lot of the rookies contribute just as much as the veterans down the stretch. And that's how it's going to have to be for us to have success. We can't rely on solely 6 or 7 guys to provide the way.
Coach, you mentioned Matt Braun. He had a night off on Saturday. He looked a little bored sitting in that penalty box over there working the door. I could have sworn he might have fallen asleep at one time over there in the penalty box.
Yeah, Matt's he's a competitive guy. He would like to play every single game, and as much as we want to play him and ride him as well, he needs to be consistent and bring his A game every game. And I just felt he didn't have his best game against Marist, and it was a good time to get Kevin in. He's been working hard in practice, and there was only 1 game left in the semester, so I thought it was a good break for not just the team, but for Matt as well.
And speaking of Kevin, in that game against Wagner, there was one play where he overplayed the puck and turned it over, and then got it back across and just made one heck of a save. What do you think about Kevin? In the time that he's seen so far this year, obviously limited action, but what we saw the other night there against Wagner, he looks pretty good as well.
Yeah, Kevin. He's definitely a reliable goaltender, and like you said, in limited action, he needs to stay sharp in practice and mentally be engaged, game in and game out, in case he's called upon. And I thought he handled himself really well for his second start of the season. You know, he's got some time in a couple games coming in relief for Braun, but you know, Kevin did a great job, and you know, just like you saw, he battles even if it's you know, a small play in a game. But you know, he's a battler, and he's a reliable goaltender for us to have on this team.
This year, so far, of all the games you played, what do you think has been the best game that your team has played thus far this year?
This season, I think at the Siena Showcase on Olympic sheet of ice, we played Florida Gulf Coast University and Penn State in back-to-back games up there. And just like we talked about before, we want to prepare our team as best as we can for postseason play. And Florida Gulf Coast, even though they're having a down year, they're a very dangerous team when they're going on all cylinders. And Penn State is probably the best team we've seen from a talent standpoint. And while we beat them 7-1, I don't think that's an indicator of how good that team really is. However, with that said, we really were focused and determined that weekend, and not only paid attention to detail, but our execution was spot on during that weekend.
Now, Coach, I know you guys got a lot of time off before your next game. What are you guys doing to keep sharp?
Well, a lot of the guys will take home workouts to stay, you know, conditioned, both from a strength and conditioning standpoint. We're going to try to get a couple skates in before January, before we come back. We're scheduled to come back January 8th. But aside from the strength and conditioning workouts that the players are provided, we're going to try to maybe get a skate or two in as a group and be prepared as best we can for our first game back in January.
Now, I know one of the things about, you know, when you're coaching any kind of collegiate sport is trying to recruit new players, trying to get new players excited into the program. And William Patterson's done it. You know, my cousin played for William Patterson, Travis Mack. I know for years William Patterson has continued to have a very successful program. What are the challenges, or what are the things that just continues to get the buzz going about Pioneer hockey?
I got to credit the coaching staff, specifically Director of Recruiting, Ian Michalchuk. He's consistently out there, you know, pushing the program and the university. Himself, myself, and General Manager Bob Carnathan, you know, we pretty much work around the clock, and we have a real good connection and relationship with the junior hockey circuit. So our backgrounds allow us the inside track on a lot of players who maybe are aging out of juniors, looking to go to school, haven't gotten looks from higher level programs, you know, the D1s. So we really, you know, are engaged in the junior circuit and interact oftenly with those coaches. And once we get an inside track on players, we try to bring them out to a practice, you know, show them the environment of the school, the program. And I think the program sells itself once a recruit is in and, you know, sees everything firsthand and up close.
Yeah, because they've had, you know, Drizis, you know, plays with William Patterson. Now he's with the Cape Cod Bluefins in the FHL. Mm-hmm. You know, it just seems like, you know, every time somebody goes out, here comes a new one coming in. Garlasco is the latest one that comes to my mind. It just, you know, it almost seems like this team can just every year reload and get more quality players and be able to play at a high level here in the ACHA. It's a great job that all the coaches do, you know?
Yeah, definitely. I know we've been doing the games for, a month or two now?
Yeah.
And, you know, we definitely can see a difference in a lot of the way the teams run as opposed to some other teams out there. One question I had for you, getting back to the season here, Coach, so far. We noticed that in a couple of games when you guys have given up a big lead, you know, 3-goal lead a couple of times. It seems that the defensive end, the defensive zone play, has been a little sketchy, a little bunching up at times. What are you guys going to do to try and prevent that going forward?
Going forward, I think, you know, and in games, you know, specifically the two games we lost, Marist, I believe we had a 2-goal lead going in the third at home, and just recently on the road we had a 3-goal lead, you know, that we coughed away. I think our philosophy is we want to stay on the attack regardless of the score. However, I think when we get up in the third period, we tend to change our forecheck a little. And while it's a passive look, it's still aggressive in nature. However, I think the young team, we haven't recognized that even though we're approaching this as a passive look, we still need to be aggressive and push the pace rather than sit back. And I think, somewhat, if you compare it to football, to prevent defense, just like the trap in hockey, I think the only thing it does is prevent you from winning. So we just want to, stay on the attack and not kind of sit back, which I think we have been doing. So, it's up to me and the rest of the coaches to kind of drill home this philosophy and, preach this a different way for our team to understand and be able to apply that in all situations, regardless of the score.
Speaking of the trap, when we were watching you guys play Wagner the other night at the Prudential Center, I mean, we've seen a lot of aggressive forechecking teams come through all season long, especially when we watched that rowing game, which seemed like both teams loved the forecheck. Then all of a sudden we go to this game, and Wagner's sitting back in what looked like a classic 1-2-2 trap. It looked different from up by us. How was it down there on the bench with you guys, and was there a lot of adjustments that needed to be made? Because it looked like the first 10 minutes of that Marist game, you guys were trying to find your way through early on.
Yes, just like you said, it was, classic 1-2-2. They were trying to take away a lot of the ice and conserve energy and try to, force us into bad decisions and mistakes so they could capitalize off our mistakes and transition offensively that way. There were adjustments, in-game adjustments on the bench and in between periods. We mentioned to our defensemen when you go back to retrieve pucks, you're going to have a lot of time. So we wanted them to use the net as their safety valve and just kind of sit back there and wait, and then that will allow our wingers to get up ice and our center to curl and support. And it's almost similar to our power play breakout where you really want to stretch that ice and force the defenders in the trap to make a decision to either just sit in that spot, and then eventually our wingers and center will find holes up the ice in the seams, or, they're going to have to change out of that. So I think we did a good job adjusting to that, and we're going to continue to practice that as I foresee that in the future teams will try to trap us and force us into mistakes since we're a young team, especially on the defensive side of the puck.
One more question before we let you go. Coach Joe Ballance here of William Patterson University. Coach, second half of the season, I know you still have 2 games against Montclair State, some other league games going on, but ideally, what do you expect out of your team now going forward second half of the season?
I expect us to be better. I think we'll be more focused and determined. I think our experience over this semester is going to carry us a long way in the second half. I think a lot of the young players got about 15 games under their belt and recognize the type of talent and competition they're going to see game in and game out. We have a lot of, just like you mentioned, aside from Montclair State, we have UNH, who's currently ranked number 1 in the Northeast. So we have a lot of tough competition left in the schedule, and we're really looking forward to get after it. And, our goals are set high, but we're going to be motivated, and I think we're going to see a better second half than first half of hockey that we just saw.
Coach Joe Ballance, William Patterson University Pioneers ice hockey team. And by the way, you can follow William Patterson's hockey team all season long. WPUhockey.com is the team website. Go check that out. Coach, thank you very much for the time, and happy holidays.
Thanks, guys. You too. Appreciate it.
All right, take it easy.
Take care, guys.
All right. That is Coach Joe Ballance of William Patterson University, and great stuff out of him. It's a good team.
Yeah, they are.
It's a good team.